тема моих последних выступлений на различных конференциях именно заключается в том, что я рассказываю о том, почему из аутсорсинга стоит уходить в разработку продукта. И дело в том, что в Украине очень тяжелая ситуация в этом плане, потому что еще несколько лет назад в IT-разработке в Украине было занято 20 тысяч человек. В России эта цифра была тогда меньше. Учитывая плотность, учитывая количество населения в России и в Украине, понятно, что фактически все разработчики заняты в аутсорсинге. Затем существует большая проблема, что если вы собираетесь создать свой стартап, запустить свой продукт, вам надо где-то брать эти ресурсы. Как вы знаете, зарплаты в IT очень сильно оптимизированы, и поэтому если вы начинаете делать что-то, у вас нет человеческого ресурса. Он очень дорогой, эксклюзивный, и с ним большие проблемы, как его достать. Поэтому, начиная свой стартап, вы сразу сталкиваетесь с кадровой проблемой. Тем не менее, много ребят сейчас смотрят из аутсорсинга в сторону разработки собственных продуктов. И это здорово. Для того, чтобы помогать таким ребятам, мы проводим мероприятия Hackers&Founders. Это формат, импортированный из долины. И в долиновском варианте, в базовом, что ясно из названия, там фаундеры знакомятся с хакерами. То есть ребята, которые, у них есть какая-то идея, они ищут хакеров для того, чтобы эту идею воплотить до какой-то альфа, бета, которую можно показать потом, например, инвестору, привлечь первые инвестиции, и дальше разработать уже прототип и потестировать ее на пользователя. Суть любого стартапа – это проверка гипотез. То есть, некоторые люди называют их идеями, но мы стремимся, мы считаем, что гипотеза это более правильная и технически правильный термин, потому что идея, она сама по себе ничего не значит. А гипотеза – это вещь, которую тебе предстоит проверить, и ты получишь однозначный результат, либо она работает, либо нет. Завтра во Львове у нас пройдет Hackers&Founders. Кому интересно поучаствовать в этом формате непосредственно, можете пообщаться с Настей. Суть формата заключается в том, что у каждого есть минута на презентацию себя. Фактически ты отвечаешь на 3 вопроса: кто ты такой, что тебе нужно на этом мероприятии и что ты можешь дать. Например, вы можете представиться, сказать: я занимаюсь разработкой новой социальной сети, мне нужен бизнес-гай, который поможет мне сформулировать этот продукт, или разработчик на Python, например.
А ты скажешь, ты кто такой? Давай рассказывай.
Но мы делаем при организации формата, мы все-таки стараемся делать упор именно на предпринимателей, потому что предпринимательский ресурс, к сожалению, гораздо более редкий, чем даже IT. Поскольку самой школы предпринимательства в Украине нет, люди еще не воспринимают бизнес как науку, то есть они не понимают, что есть системный подход в его изучении. И построение продуктов само по себе это тоже вполне формализируемая область, которая имеет свои законы. Это не набор случайностей, либо встретишь динозавра, либо нет. Вот, собственно, моя основная цель рассказать вам о том, что продукты это не страшно, и что завтра мы вам покажем много ребят, которые тратят свое время, тратят свои деньги на разработку собственных продуктов. Там будут успешные бизнесы, абсолютно разные кейсы, то есть это iOS-приложения, веб-сервисы, это может быть связано даже с офлайновыми штуками, какие-то идеи. То есть, в принципе, хотя, конечно, это все растет из IT, но нам важно, чтобы идея была интересная и как бизнес и работающая. Мы проинвестировали недавно в сервис продуктор, он занимается доставкой продуктов по рецепту. Мы решили немножко переосмыслить понятие супермаркета. То есть мы считаем, что идея о том, что у тебя есть виртуальный супермаркет, в котором ты выбираешь продукты, ты все равно тратишь на это время, что ты ходишь по магазину, что ты делаешь это с помощью сайта, ты все равно, мы тебе не создаем экономику. не создаем экономию времени. Кроме того, там еще есть проблемы, например, актуализации этого списка товаров и куча всего. В чем смысл продуктора в том, что мы тебе даем изначально 3 рецепта, продаем на неделю. Ты получаешь продукт уже сортированный, упакованный. И 3 рецепта, ты просто вечером достаешь рецепт, и они оптимизированы по времени, и ты за 30 минут получаешь блюдо, которое приготовил своими руками за достаточно короткий промежуток. Вот, то есть мы не концентрируемся только на каких-то очень IT-сферах. Какие вопросы?
Как туда попасть?
Вот смотри, девушка в красном платье, поговори с ней, расскажи, чем ты занимаешься и чем ты хочешь заниматься. Она тебе даст промокод на участие в мероприятии.
Якщо це не таємниця, можливо, це просто або не має бути сюрпризом, хто з підприємців повинен бути завтра присутній, чи якісь потенційні інвестори. Більше цікаві власне підприємці, бізнес-антропи.
Якщо хто буде з проєкту,
ні, не з проєктів. Технічні люди, це окей, розумію.
Будут инвесторы, вот один из наших партнеров по этому мероприятию, компания Мурка, которая занимается инвестированием в iOS команду. Тут Krysh будут, из EastLabs, будет ребята из Hackers&Founders, инкубатора. Это всех, кого там сейчас я быстро вспомню.
Стартап-сауна.
Стартап-сауна, да, из Финляндии, из Финляндии.
Тобто фактично ви допомагаєте зустрітись людям з ідеями чи гіпотезами з компаніями
Людьми з грошима.
Ні, ну власне Hackers&Founders вони теж там гроші дуже мають, вони вже мають своїх потім інвесторів. Чи ви безпосередньо інвестуєте?
Мы занимаемся разработкой продуктов и инвестированием в другие команды. То есть мы работаем в обоих направлениях. Но обычно взаимодействие с ребятами, которые что-то запускают, мы их менторим, то есть помогаем сформулировать продукт, получить первый трафик, понять там что-то есть или нет, и понять вообще, некоторые проекты нужно на бустрапе запускать, тебе не надо привлекать какие-то серьезные деньги на первых этапах. Если это будет так, то мы скажем команде, что ребята делайте дальше, мы просто не будем даже предлагать их инвестировать. Если там будет что-то действительно требующее денег для продукта, то мы им поможем финансово. Для каждого проекта своя схема, свои мотивации и так далее, в зависимости от сферы самого продукта. Еще? Все, спасибо.
Напоминаю, все у кого есть смартфоны и 80% юзеров Google+, не забудьте зарегистрироваться и включить режим вечеринки. Ваши эмоции. Будем рады видеть ваши фотки, проявляющиеся в секунду.
До речі, хто хоче підключитися швиденько до Wi-Fi, там на таких листочках QR-коди, їх просто сканують, воно само має вам допомагати підключитися на цю мережу. Правда, підтримують тільки Android телефон. Дуже класний хайр. Далі в нас мала виступати Евелін, але замість Евелін у нас приїхав її друг Krysh. Please welcome Krysh. He does speak in Ukrainian, but
How are you doing? My name is Rish Wapakar. I'm managing partner of EastLabs. I am here today to talk to you all about EastLabs, the accelerator, what we're doing, kind of our goal, strategy, and what we're looking for in terms of companies and startups. I guess I'll start just by introducing myself. Because I don't know if I've met all of you before. I've definitely met some of you. I'm from New York. I've been living in Kyiv for the last 2 years and 8 months. Говорю по-русски тоже, но говорю как ребенок, так я говорю по-английски всегда. Но если хочешь, я не говорю по-русски.
Немножко о себе тоже расскажешь, можно по-английски.
Thank you. So, if anyone wants to speak Russian, I can, a little bit. But I'm really happy to be here in Lviv. One of the things that we're really interested in is speaking to the Lviv startup community, because as you know, we're based in Kyiv, but there's startup activity going on all over Ukraine and in other parts of CIS, and we have to reach out. So, but as I said, I'll start with a quick intro on me. I'm from New York. I did venture capital investment in New York, invested in a variety of different companies, took two companies public in 2008, sold a company for $800 million in 2008 as well. And in 2009, I decided to move to the emerging markets and was deciding between here and in South America. Decided to come to this region and loved Ukraine the best. I traveled all over the whole region, Russia, the Baltics, pretty much everywhere. And I really felt comfortable in Ukraine, and I felt like there was a really big opportunity here because on an absolute basis, we're still behind Russia, which is an opportunity in terms of competition, in terms of the fact that costs are still lower here. And out of Ukraine, we can create companies that target CIS and target Russia. So that's why I decided to come here. And my purpose was to start a venture capital fund here. And so as you know, last year we launched the process to start EastLabs, and in January of this year, fully opened EastLabs, which is located where the Microsoft office is in Kyiv, in the center of Kyiv, on Zhilyanska Street. We have some of our companies here at Kartinka, so you'll probably hear from them as well. But let me give you a little bit of background on accelerators and what the purpose of an accelerator is and what kind of our vision is. So since costs of doing internet startups have gone down in the last 10 years, venture capital has moved increasingly to more seed-level, seed-stage investments. And venture capitalists did not want to miss out on opportunities to get involved in very early-stage seed companies. And so seed accelerators, starting with Y Combinator and others in the US, originated. And those seed accelerators have been very successful because they've made lots of small investments in new ideas. And some of those investments were able to succeed exceedingly well. Dropbox, Airbnb, and others that you've heard of have become multi-billion-dollar companies. But the other thing that they've really helped to do globally is to spur help new entrepreneurs start businesses, be able to test out concepts, and to be able to start those businesses and get help from other people who've been through the process and who know what they're doing, and global mentors. We have some of our mentors here, Andriy and other people. So that's kind of what we want to do, is to surround these startups with mentors, people who can give them advice, people who've been there, who've done that, who've succeeded, who have some international expertise. So that's kind of the purpose. So EastLabs, as I mentioned, was started in January of this year. We've made 7 investments so far, 3 most recently, including Kartinka, who's here. And 3 of our companies that we invested in January are currently doing fundraising. One of them has already closed their fundraising round, and we'll be doing that very soon. And they plan on moving to the US, to Boston. So that announcement will be announced when it's officially closed. And we've made 3 new investments. And what we plan on doing is making more investments over the next month or 2. And over the course of the year, we're still looking at a lot of startups. So how does it work? Well, what we do is we find investors, we find new startups, we find mentors, and when we find startups, we bring them to our location and we decided to make an investment. We put in $20,000 on the seed side, and that's a typical situation. If the startup we invest in needs more than $20,000, then on a case-by-case basis, we can do that as well. But then the startup comes into our program. We have a great office space right in the center of Kyiv. And we provide this office space, and we go through a 4-month program where every week, or probably twice a week, we have different mentoring sessions, different programs to help startups learn what they need to know. So first they understand, what is their MVP, what is the product that they're going to build. Then they will build that product, they will do some testing, they'll decide whether they need to pivot or they need to keep going with their current startup prototype. And if they start getting some traction, then at the end of the program we introduce them to global investors. So investors in the US, Western Europe, Russia, all over the world that are interested in startups and interested in consumer internet ideas, which is what we invest in. Basically, through that program, we also surround them, as I said, with mentors. So we have international and local mentors. As I said, some of them are in this room, and they've been very helpful to our startups and helping them learn things. So we usually try to pair each of our startups with a mentor who leads them, who gives them advice in a very, I'd say, close relationship. So the mentor understands the startup, understands their issues, and really tries to help them. We call that person a lead mentor. But then there's also lots of other mentors who can provide advice and counsel to startups. And so that's basically it. EastLabs is run by me, and I have 2 other partners, Evelyn Bushatsky and Olga Belkova, who you might have also met and heard of. And we're really looking for startup companies. So if you have startup ideas, if you have a new idea and you haven't yet shown it to us, please, I urge you to go to our website, and I can give you my card. And please present us the idea, and we'll see if it's interesting and see if you guys are a candidate for our accelerator program. We're really looking on expanding to getting more startups from Lviv. We already have 1 startup from Lviv, as I mentioned, and we want more. So please stop by and introduce yourself to me, and I'd be happy to tell you more about EastLabs. But with that, I would like to open it up with questions, if there's any questions I can answer. Yes.
Can you tell more about MVP? Is it the first step to create product? What do you think?
Well, there's a lot of examples of companies that have spent a great deal of capital on understanding whether their product was able to gain customers, or if there was demand for what they were producing. So, as you know, the concept of an MVP is to produce a prototype which will allow the entrepreneur to understand how the customer feels, how the customer interacts with that product, if there is a demand, if there's a need for other features. But it's a minimum product set, it's a minimum feature set. So, yeah, I think that unless the company has some basis to understand whether there is a demand for that product, and there's a built-in kind of market already, then an MVP is probably the most capital efficient, time efficient way to approach a new product launch. I'll give you an example. There's a company that I'm actually a co-founder of right now that we're launching called Diarize. It's a mobile app. So we could add a lot of features to that. We still don't know what are all the features that we will add at one point, but we want to launch very soon. So we launch with an MVP to understand what the market wants, to understand what global investors are looking at, and to help us identify what are the important features in that product, and if there's a demand for it at all. So I think in every case, in most every case, it is probably the best way to go.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Nicole, and I would like to talk to you about my idea and myself. And I would like to have your card, and
Sure.
I would like to know how can I do it in general and so.
Okay. Yeah. So the process is really simple. I'll give you my card. We can talk. You can apply on our website. We will take a look at your idea and get back to you and put together a Skype call. Or if you happen to be in Kyiv, we can do a face-to-face meeting. But if you're here, we can do a Skype call very easily. Yeah, and we'll look at your idea, ask you questions about it, understand what it is, and if it's a fit, or if we find that it's interesting, then we'll have further conversations. Usually we might have 2 kind of Skype calls or 2 meetings, maybe even a face-to-face meeting. And then if you pass that, we'll invite you to an investment committee where you'll come in, and it'll be the partners of EastLabs along with other, some of our investors and other parties, maybe some entrepreneurs, who will look at your idea and assess whether they think it's also valid. And a lot of that is not just the idea, it's the team, it's the market, and if we think there's a fit, then the process can be fairly quick. So maybe we're moving pretty quick right now. So if there's people who have ideas right now, we're planning on making some investments very soon. So if you have something now, please definitely show it to us and apply. And if you do that very soon, we can move actually very quickly, maybe in 3 weeks.
How do you think you just said about team? How do you think if it's possible to invest in team which just started doing this thing, or you invest in teams that have skills?
Okay. Yeah, that's a good question. So, when I was in New York and I was doing venture capital investing there, a lot of the teams that we would invest in would be very, senior, experienced CEOs, right? Maybe they would have, been in, some leading position at Yahoo or AOL, or maybe even been a founder of another successful company, right? That was our strategy in New York, right? So we would only look at teams where the person who's leading the team has to be someone from who ran a product at Google or ran a product at AOL, right? And that is the strategy of a lot of firms, okay? But that's not always possible because you know what? Mark Zuckerberg wasn't at AOL or Google before he started Facebook, right? Drew Houston from Dropbox wasn't leading a company or didn't have a big exit, right? So that strategy, if a company or if a venture firm employs that strategy, they miss out on a lot of people, a lot of new talent, people that may or may not have produced something that has gotten an exit, or younger entrepreneurs who are just graduating from university or maybe even in school graduating, right? And so we have that kind of different look at it, okay? Of course, if there is someone here who has a great deal of experience and has success in prior startups, that's always positive. But not everyone, as I said, has that, but they have a great team and they have great ideas. And so what we look at is not just, whether they've done something in a technology company in terms of, work experience, It could be that they've done something in university. You know, they've had some leadership experience in university. They've taken some initiative in other parts of their lives. Maybe they've, are actively involved in GDG, right? So, those are all things that we look at as well as whether you've done startups before, whether you've, led products within larger companies, whether you've had former or previous business or startup experience. So I think, when you look at a team, the other thing you look at is how complementary are they? If we find that there's one team member who has certain skills, hopefully the other team members have complementary skills. So when you put all the team members together, you have a team where that team can accomplish all of these sorts of things, right? So that's something to consider when you are, you have an idea and you need to find a team. Try to look for other people who have other skills that maybe you don't have. So, don't just find people who think just like you, who have your exact same background. Because investors, when they see your team, they're going to be looking for different skill sets. So maybe you are a designer. Maybe your colleague, your team member is a more technical person. Maybe you have another team member who has business or finance experience, right? So if that's the kind of team, if you can put together a team like that, that team is sellable, okay? Because at the end of the day, you need to go out and get someone to invest in you, whether it's EastLabs or an angel investor. So you have to be able to attract people, right?
Thank you.
Yes.
My name is Mikula. What sizes of the projects, what the markets, the target markets of this specific project, of this startup you're ready to fund? This only could be some cross-country projects or some local markets, and could that be a single person with some idea, or you're looking for well, at least to some minor degree established teams that are ready to start working in some idea?
Yeah, so I'll answer the first question first about the market size. Again, it goes back to making these projects or these ideas sellable to global investors. Investors want to invest in ideas that have large markets. So the larger the better. We specifically look at ideas that are at the minimum looking to target CIS, Russia, Ukraine, former Soviet Union countries, at the minimum. Just because if you're targeting just Ukraine, there's a lot of great ideas that just target Ukraine. That's fine. But what we're looking for at EastLabs is ideas that go beyond Ukraine, that target CIS, and hopefully, ideally, are globally minded. So we want ideas that come out of here and can be backed by Silicon Valley investors and U.S. investors, Western European investors, because those ideas matter to those people in those markets. Ukraine is what, 46 million people. You add Russia, 43 million. You add Russia to that, and that becomes interesting to us. So that's why we look at a minimum at these two countries in terms of market size. Smaller than that could be interesting, and there's other investors who would be very happy to look at ideas that are Ukrainian-based. And I think there are a lot of ideas that you can start by targeting Ukraine. We would be interested in that too. If you say, hey, my idea is